This is the second video on our trip with Viking to Egypt. It covers the next 4 days after Cairo, in which we visited Luxor, Qena, and Aswan. So from Cairo, we flew up to Luxor for this part of the trip. Then we got onto the boat. Next, we visited the Temple of Karnak, which is the largest religious building ever constructed. It covers a site measuring nearly 1 mile by 2 miles in area, and it was dedicated to 3 Egyptian deities: Amun, king of the gods; Mut, mother goddess of ancient Egypt; and Khonsu, god of the moon. Here's a sphinx with a ram's head. A sphinx is a statue with the head of a man or a beast on a lion's body. The temple has a lot of these columns. And here's a picture of the blue ceiling with a multitude of stars. This is the avenue of the sphinxes that goes between the Karnak and the Luxor temples. This is the Dendera temple, also in Luxor. It's the only temple that you could walk on the roof at this time.
Now what we have here, we have the sky dome. So this is a sky dome, so that's a circle, that's a sky dome, that is east, that is west, that is south, that is north. The ancient Egyptians succeeded to put the sun here, and then the moon, and then this is the earth. So this thing, which looks like a leg of animal, that is the earth. This little circle is the moon, this big circle is the sun. So the ancient Egyptian is actually making the moon come between the sun and the earth, which is close. The question is, when this happened? We asked some scientists from NASA, her name is Sarah Simons, if this ever happened. She does her researches and she comes back to say 54 BC.
Next day we moved on to Qena with a lot of things to see. Here we show the entrance to the Valley of the Kings, a place where many pharaohs were buried. The burial sites of the pharaohs were cut into the rock, and here you can see entrances to several of them. A wall in one of the burial sites. An armory going into one of the burial sites. Then we saw King Tut's tomb, discovered in 1922. Here's the inside, very well preserved. Another view showing the sarcophagus. And a mummified head. Here's a picture of a goddess anointing King Tut with some kind of oil. And a picture of Howard Carter taking a photograph of one of the things they took out of the tomb. Incidentally, the government of Egypt is not too happy with people like Carter because they basically were tomb robbers. More photos of the tomb. Here are a couple pillars. And this was the colossi of Memnon, 2 very large statues that are well known in Egypt. And this is the memorial temple of Queen Hatshepsut, one of the few female pharaohs. After her death, rulers that came after her, including her son, erased all mention of her name inside the temple. And a sphinx looking over her memorial. That night we cruised up the river to the town of Esna, where I took in another temple, the Temple of Qena, and Omri went to the bazaar. This was the Temple of Qena, which was recently excavated and brought out from under the city. It has a lot of Roman influence since it was built very close to the start of the millennium. Noom was the god who watched over the Nile in its annual flooding. The columns are particularly Romanesque. As I said, the temple was recently dug out from under the sand in the city. Here you can see the level of the city with respect to where the temple is sitting. There's a lot more there that they want to dig out, but they've got to get rid of a lot of buildings. As I mentioned, Earl Marie went to the bazaar while I was at the temple. Here's an Egyptian cotton dealer that she saw. And here's a young boy who was going to lead her to something really wonderful. A clothing store. And here she is in the dress she brought. Looks really nice. At the bazaar, she saw an entrance to a mosque. Here's a typical view of the city. A couple of conservative Muslim women. And two more less conservatively dressed. But it looks hot. And here's a spice dealer. And here I am later in my traveling clothes. Next, we boated up the Nile to Aswan city. The day was highlighted with a boat trip to the Nubian village. Here are the steps from the boat dock up to Aswan city. And here's a few inhabitants. Here was our boat that we got on. This is a felucca, a typical Egyptian sailing boat. And here you can see some ruins in the desert that approaches the river, and on the top of the hill an observatory. These boys were approaching the boat where they would sing to us in hopes for a tip. Saw a lot of birds on the side of the river. And here we are at the Nubian village. One of the ladies wanted to get a henna tattoo. And here are their pet alligators that they keep. These two women are in the school demonstrating how they teach the kids. And this was one of the students who also sang for us. Here we are at the Egyptian party night where we all got to show off our traditional galabeas. Here we are in our galabeas. And here's one of the crew members showing off hers with Earl Marie.
Okay. Huh? What y'all?
Beautiful.
name.